They told you he got banned, kicked out, thrown in the street. MeidasTouch had the headline before the speech complete. Persona non grata. Yeah, they made up the word, but the algorithm made it up and nobody stirred. This ain't news no more. This is theater with a beat, and we reporting from the floor where they bury the receipts. Yeah, June the 6th, Normandy, hallowed ground, sacred soil, where 80,000 crosses mark the blood and the toil. A defense secretary lands with his family in tow. Pentagon says personal expense for the optics of the show. We skipped the international ceremony, y'all gave a speech at the cemetery, then walked down the hall, talking about invasions on the beaches of Spain, Italy, Greece, Bulgaria, calling migrants to pain. Boats and men arrived, but he never said the name of the ideology. Kept it vague, kept it flame. That's not a speech, that's a pressure campaign. Dressed in grief, using the graves of the fallen as a diplomatic brief. The French villagers said, called them unwelcome here. Langoon on commune wrote the statement loud and clear. His values contradict democracy and peace. Local civic groups spoke up, not the government, capiche? But MeidasTouch said they kicked out the nation. Cut to the graphic at the music, sell the sensation. Persona non grata, they're screaming in the feed, but read the fine print, homie, that ain't what it reads. They sold you a expulsion, gave you grassroots rage, called it breaking news, it was a civic group on a page. Persona non grata, the headline in the lie, living in the gap between the truth and the headline high. Now zoom out from the cemetery, look at the full board. Hegseth lecturing Europe while they ducking from the sword. The same allied nations that he's scolding on the stage were asked to join the Iran war. They declined and turned the page. So now he's at the holiest ground the Western world has got, telling grieving nations, y'all forgot what freedom costs. Dark humor check, imagine being France in this scene. The man who represents a Pentagon you've never seen shows up to your memorial with a Fox News era script. Talks migration policy with a liberator slipped into the English Channel 1944. Now their graves are backdrop for a 2026 culture war. And back home on the timeline, the bots are going wild. He was expelled. 300,000 likes compiled. Ben Meison's got the clip rolling before the ink dried. The outrage economy is working, both teams satisfied. Left gets the villain, right gets the martyr, polished bride, and the actual geopolitics buried out of sight. See, the Iran angle is the part nobody's saying out loud. Hegseth went to Normandy carrying a different crowd. The message underneath the migration rhetoric and fire was, Europe, join our war, we consider you a liar. That's the real speech. Inside the speech they clipped and aired. The pressure wrapped in sacrifice, the ultimatum prepared. And we sitting here in Lagos, Tehran, London, name your town, watching America use the graves of heroes as a gown to dress up modern foreign policy in World War II. If the fallen could respond, what do you think they'd say to you? So was he persona non grata? Yes, locally, truly. A village said he wasn't welcome, stated it unruly. Was he banned from France? No, that's where the story bends. Was he kicked out the country? No, the fabrication ends. He landed, spoke, and left. The ceremony went on. MeidasTouch took 20 versions of a story by dawn. But here's the dark comedy that nobody wants to write. The man politicized and D-Day did it twice, not right. Skipped the global service, gave a partisan address on the most nonpartisan piece of ground we still possess. And the media on both sides found exactly what they need. One found a monster, one found a martyr, both guaranteed. I read BNN, don't pick the monster or the saint. We read the ground report, we look at what it ain't. Persona non grata. Yeah, the word doesn't exist, but the spin that built around it, that's the story we persist. We read what they bury, we just report what's on the floor. Normandy was sacred ground, don't make it a metaphor for your algorithm, for your clicks. Let's rewind the tape before the headlines hit the feed, before the civic group in Langoon planted the seed. 3 days before he landed, the statement was released. The cancellation call was made, the protest never ceased. Meaning somebody knew the temperature of the room, but booked the trip regardless, walking to the fume. Now I see the arrogance of calculated play. Show up where you're unwelcome on the news for the day. Because here's the math that nobody's running on the screen. An unwelcome defense secretary is a Fox News dream. They hate us over there, the base consumes it whole. Meanwhile the actual policy slips right through the hole. What policy? The one that nobody's screamed about that Hegseth at the cemetery was a geopolitical cloud, a message to the French, the Germans, Italians on the fence. We came to your memorial, now drop your Iran defense. Support the sanctions, join the coalition, fall in line, or we'll use your sacred beaches as a rhetorical shrine. Persona non grata, they screaming in the feed, but read the fine print, homie, that ain't what it reads. Some Pentagon staffer with a calendar on the wall, D-Day's coming up, sir. Normandy again, you're calling. Somewhere in that building, the decision got approved to pack the kids, the cameras, and the talking points that move to the most horrific cemetery in the Western world, where 80 years of grief and sacrifice gets unfurled. Every single June, every nation, every flag, and Hegseth showed up with the culture war in the bag, labeled it as tribute, wrapped it up in veteran praise, and lit the migration fuse and watched the whole thing blaze. The French press called it bizarre and they were being kind. BFM TV was running shy, runs falling behind. The local outrage was legitimate and raw and real, but MeidasTouch took real and gave it Hollywood appeal. Banned in Cape Town, 4 words that changed the calorie count of a story that was already rich. They just added the amount. Persona non grata, they screaming in the feed, but read the fine print, homie, that ain't what it reads. The village said go home, the government said nothing, the media said expelled, while the algorithm kept running. Persona non grata, the gap between the fact and the headline that replaced it, and nobody's looking back. Now step outside America, step outside the frame. Lagos, Tehran, Beirut, they watching the same game. And from where we stand in both sides of the media war, look identical and met the different flags, same floor. The outrage merchants on the left inflating what occurred, the outrage merchants on the right defending every word. Meanwhile the villages of Normandy, the actual French, are navigating 80 years of memory on that bench, where American soldiers gave their lives for liberation. And now the rest in place is debated by a nation that can't agree on whether their own defense chief went there to honor soldiers or manufacture grief. That's the question that cuts deepest, that's the wound that's real. Not whether MeidasTouch was honest in their zeal, but whether the most solemn ground that allies ever shared can survive the era where every sacred space gets snared into the content cycle. The outrage and the spin, when nobody leaves the cemetery, everybody wins. We don't do monsters here, we don't do saints for sale. We read the Langroom statement and we checked against the tail. We read the Euro News of France 24 the Hill. We read the Pentagon response, personal expense still. We read between the migration speech and what it really meant. A defense chief leveraging the dead for diplomatic debt. And when the dust of June the 6th settles and clears, when the algorithm moves on to the next engine need fears, Normandy will still be there. The crosses and the rows, indifferent to the politics, immune to all the shows. The men beneath that ground made one demand and only one at what they died for. Don't become a headline when it's done. So we sign off from the floor where the buried truth remains. R&B and then we follow facts, not media campaigns. Persona non grata, rest in peace, invented word. The real story was always there, just waiting to be heard. They built a headline out of a village's pain. They call it journalism, we call it by its name. We read what they buried, we just report what's on the floor. They built a headline